First one is, who's the best dodgeball player in the room?
Well, it's not Devin Wasley.
Amen to that.
Amen.
Biggest cheater, though.
Yeah.
Biggest cheater.
Yeah.
Biggest cheater.
Yeah. Wendy's.
See, dude, I think Wendy's is just not good. I just...
Wow.
I mean...
You don't like a Baconator?
No, dude, I don't...
What do you mean?
I don't like... They just... I mean, what else? Okay, when you think of Wendy's, it's like, all right, a Frosty. 3 pillars of the wrestling that we had there. Never be surprised, never be scared, and never be embarrassed. Like,
That's really
that's
good.
something I wanted to share with you guys here.
Let's rip it. All right, guys. Welcome back to the podcast today, Beyond the Circle. This is our second one. Thank you for the support on the first one. Today we got a special guest, Kyle Burwick. He's a 5-time North Dakota state champ. He's a 2-time Junior Freestyle All-American. He's also a 3-time NCAA qualifier. So welcome, Kyle. Thank you.
Happy to have you on.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, boys. I appreciate it.
So,
All right, first question I got for you, Kyle.
All right.
Why did you start wrestling? Anybody get you into it? Any merit behind that?
My dad. I felt like it was in my blood, dude. I didn't really have... I wanted to play football for the longest time. I thought I was going to play college football, I swear.
Yeah.
And then I hit 7th grade. I started playing tackle football. And I realized that shit wasn't going to...
Yeah. So you played football in high school, though?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, a lot of guys know Hettinger is really, really tiny. That's where I grew up. And so, I mean, I just played baseball, played football, wrestled, even did golf. Middle school.
Oh,
Really?
wow.
Like 7th, 8th grade, or?
Yeah, 7th, 8th grade. Well, maybe up to 7th grade. I don't know. But I got 3rd at some tournament one time. That was my best.
Heck yeah, you
Tiger
did.
Woods performance. So,
What was the best you shot?
dude, I can't even. You don't even want to know the score. It probably wasn't even good. I think the last time I played a full 9, I think I shot like a 62. It was bad.
I mean,
That's not that
I'll probably
bad.
shoot double that.
That's not that
I
bad.
mean, that was like 2 years ago without playing for 3 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's averaging like bogey and a half. I'd live with that for sure.
get a par. I'm like, hell yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, I just get so frustrated when I'm playing golf. That's the thing. That's why wrestling is like perfect for my mindset, because I'm like, you know, if I mess up, I'm like, oh, I can club somebody pretty hard.
Yeah. True. Golf, it's like the angrier you get, the worse it gets.
Yeah, the harder you hack at the ball.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like it just starts going left and right. Yeah.
Start missing 1 putt, 2 putt, 3 putts.
Some
You're like,
DeChambeau
oh, shit.
action at the Masters.
Yeah. All of a sudden, a decent round turns into 50 over.
But yeah, I'll go back to your original question. Yeah, so my dad, he's still the head coach at Hettinger, and you know, him and my mom always talked about, you know, like my dad never thought that I loved the sport, and my mom was like, Randy, he's fine. He's your kid. Like he'll figure it out.
Just give him some time.
Just give him some time. Because he always thought, I was like, oh, he always talks about his football. And I was like, Dad, I'm playing college football. I just playing NCAA
You knew it.
on the Xbox. But no, like, yeah, my dad just, he was so good at supporting me. My Uncle Keith, you know, he lived up in Dickinson, so I spent a lot of time, you know, just an hour up in Dickinson from Hettinger. So it was just kind of in my blood, I feel like. And
Yeah.
like a lot of wrestlers, I feel like it's pretty generational.
For sure.
You know.
Go ahead.
Okay. When would you say like you started taking wrestling serious?
Probably when I started to make like those Heartland national dual teams. Like
Was that like 4th grade?
yeah, probably around there was when I figured I'm like, hey, I'm pretty decent at this. Like I can go and wrestle outside of North Dakota and like have some fun trips with my buddies from Fargo and Bismarck and stuff.
Yeah.
But I'd say probably like 5th, 6th grade was when I like really started, wanting to win Triple Crowns and try and make those dual teams and stuff, and then do well at those dual teams. Because I remember the first elementary dual team that I made, I went like 1-6, and I was like, dude, this sucks.
Yeah.
I was like, this sport's the worst. You go from like beating every kid at your local tournaments to you go down to wherever it was in Nebraska and like go 1-6.
Yeah.
And I was like, dude, this is terrible.
Yeah, you wrestle some developed 4th graders, that's for sure.
Yeah. And like those kids from Nebraska, Iowa, Wisconsin, the Illinois like elementary teams. Thank goodness there were none of the Pennsylvania teams there. But like, oh man, it was like those kids had been wrestling like those big national tournaments and stuff, and I hadn't, I didn't go to like Tulsa or those little kids tournaments like that. So it was kind of a rude awakening.
Yeah, and it's crazy how, especially in some of them bigger states, you get some coaches and parents that push their little kids so hard, even in like so young, and it's like, yeah, your kid's a hammer now, but the odds that he makes her through are pretty low compared to, especially like in North Dakota, you kind of got to really be nice to the kids that you got because you don't got a lot of them, so you got to hope they make it.
Yeah, there's not the numbers. And I mean, I think if Jordan Burroughs is talking about how bad the, like parents scene is and like how like the reality of it is pretty ugly, then you really know it's pretty ugly.
Yeah, it's getting pretty bad.
If you go to those like youth tournaments and stuff, you see some pretty crazy parents just like, pushing kids.
I feel like what you're seeing is like them try to live their life through their kids, and they're trying to push them way too hard.
Yeah. They were like that guy who was almost good enough. He just couldn't quite get through, so his kids got to make it.
Yeah. Could have wrestled in college, but didn't really want to.
Yeah.
So now my kid's going to wrestle in college.
Yeah, got a career-ending injury. Otherwise, he was Jordan Burroughs. Yeah.
And that was really nice when I was, super young. My family was never, even though my dad was my coach, like he was never pushing me to win anything. It wasn't like life or death if you lost.
Right.
And I feel like that helped me learn how to, work through those losses, because it's never fun, especially as a kid, if you lose a match.
No.
Like, you're crying or whatever, but you learn to get better through that. Now, I think if my family was trying to push me to, winning is the only thing that matters, it probably wouldn't have ended well. That's why you see so many kids, like you said, just burn out.
Right.
And we don't want that.
No. I'd say, going off that, go a little deeper into your background, kind of pretty open, wide to you, wherever you want to start, whether that's 5 years old when you started or elementary, whatever.
Yeah, I mean, going on from when I was in elementary school, once I kind of figured out, like, hey, I'm going to be pretty small, like, I'll be able to play football. We played 9-man football. There was, usually 20 kids on the roster. So it was like, and my dad was the football coach too. So it's like, I still enjoyed playing football, but I realized I'm like, hey, this probably ain't going to be my thing.
Yeah. You made her work.
Yeah, I made her work.
Yeah.
So going on into like middle school was kind of really where I was like, hey, I can really start to develop. I want to get some more camps. I want to work on my technique. I want to learn some new things. And then where we could wrestle varsity, that's kind of where the door kind of flew wide open, because in North Dakota, 7th and 8th graders can wrestle varsity.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So, and honestly, we need that. Our state, just the numbers wise, like.
Is it like that in every sport, or is it just wrestling? Or how does that work?
It depends. So track, you can do it for sure in 7th and 8th. You can go up. Actually, I think it is every sport.
It is?
The only one is football. I think you have to have like a special note or something to go up, because there's certain regulations with like size. But other than that, I think you can. go 7th and everything
I
else.
always wondered how that worked. Like, since you guys didn't wrestling, I didn't know if it was just wrestling or if it was like every sport.
Yep. Yeah, and in football you can too, I know for sure, because we played a team that had an 8th grader as their running back that ran all over us. So, yeah. Yeah.
Kid was just a demon as an 8th grader.
Yeah. He was a monster.
Yeah,
That's what we had one of those in ours. He was a 8th grader, hit puberty in like 5th grade.
Yep.
Got to junior high, just dominated everyone. Then we got to high school and he just fell off.
Exactly.
peaked already.
Yep. Peaked in 8th grade.
And it's like mentally too. Sometimes those guys, even if they just wrote it out, they'd probably still be pretty decent.
Yeah.
But they just mentally get so broken by, oh my God, everybody is getting just as good as me.
I don't even think he played his senior year.
Yep.
Or junior year.
You see that a lot, actually. Especially when you see somebody who's so good,
Yeah.
young. But, yeah. So how big is Hettinger?
900.
900.
Maybe around 1,000 people. I don't know. Like, I think if you were to count all the people that lived in the town, it's definitely been getting smaller since I graduated
Right.
in 2019.
Long
6
time
years.
ago.
So you're
Out of eligibility.
you're what, 30,
Out of eligibility.
38?
37.
So how many?
No.
Close to pulling
How
social
old are you
security.
actually though? 24, 5?
24.
24.
Yeah.
Dang.
Yeah, 24. This was my 6th year college wrestling this year. Last school, I promise.
Yeah.
Transferred to every other school.
So how big was your graduating class?
16, including me.
Wow.
I thought mine was small.
Yeah.
16.
How many was yours?
Like 41, 42.
That's still pretty small for like a
Yeah.
Pennsylvania school, right?
Yeah. I mean, it depends where you're located. I'm more like out in the country, but yeah, it's pretty small. Like, there's a school 30 minutes away from me. They're graduating like 1,000.
Oh, wow.
Oh, see,
Holy.
I'm sure there was a Walmart there, right?
Yeah, in that town. Not my town.
Exactly.
Yeah, I don't have a grocery
I was
store.
driving a little ways to get to a Walmart.
You gotta drive like 30
How far was the
minutes.
Walmart?
It's up in Dickinson, an hour away. If you want to
Dang.
do anything else, you go to Bismarck, 2 hours away.
What was that Hettinger grocery store like?
Oh, actually, pretty dang good.
Really?
Pretty dang good.
Yeah.
Prices.
Yeah, it's very
a little-
expensive.
A little expensive. You're not really gonna find anything that specific, but you're gonna find the name brand stuff.
Yeah.
But they did have a deli. Pretty good deli.
Really?
clutch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is clutch.
But moving on from middle school, kind of getting to high school. So I wrestled 106, 106, both 7th, 8th grade, and then just from there, just moved up. Then I went to 13, then I went to 20, then I went to 26. And then I really started getting serious about, wrestling in college, probably when I was a sophomore, was when because like my freshman year, I had kind of dealt with, some stuff. I had a couple stress fractures in my back, and that kind of set me back a little bit. And
Yeah.
I think I was just probably trying to do too much football, wrestling, lifting, just trying to do it all. And while I'm still growing a little bit at the time, not by much. But,
Getting from 5 to 5'3".
yeah, a little bit, but
Yeah.
every inch counts.
It does.
Yeah.
Inches a lot, guys.
But yeah, like probably around that sophomore year time, freshman a little bit, because wrestled at Fargo my freshman year. I was able to All-American in the cadets, and then I was like, okay, hey, I can really, I can hang with these guys.
Yeah.
And
What place did you get that year?
5th.
5th.
Yeah, and I only ever really wrestled freestyle.
Right.
I mean, I'd wrestle Greco at junior duels and stuff, but
Yeah, I mean, you can say it.
not no Greco master like
Yeah.
this dude here.
You don't like Greco?
No, I like it.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I don't know, man. I don't know how to throw people.
Yeah.
All I would ever do in Greco is just snap people down.
Yeah.
Honestly, that was probably it. Snap
Yeah.
people down.
Yeah.
Hold a 2-on-1 and try and push them out of bounds.
Probably had a good gut.
Yeah, just get a good gut on
Yeah.
top. I had no other idea what to do.
Yeah.
Honestly, in Greco, you need like 1-2 things, and then be able to not get turned and being able to turn. It's like game changing in
Yeah.
Greco, I would say. Because like when I look at my Fargo run, so the way I won every match was throw them, gut them out or throw them twice. And then
What'd you use for throws? Like
my arm throw.
Yeah.
Or I would hit a little drag too. I have a sneaky little drag I like.
Yeah.
And then for my final smash, I couldn't throw the kid. So I got my chance on top, turned him twice. And then when he had his chance on top, I just stayed disciplined and, like, move, and then he couldn't turn me. So it's like that. And even when you look at the highest levels of Greco, too, it's just, like, who can get a turn, who doesn't, basically.
Yeah, I feel like if you can defend parterre, that's huge. It's like if you're good defending parterre, it's gonna be really hard to lose.
Yeah.
Or if you have like that mean gut wrench, then you just get on top and the match.
How did you get into Greco? Like what was your kind of journey with Greco?
So I did judo because of my dad. He was a world team alternate for like the senior level. So
USA?
Yes. He was pretty legit. So then he kind of just got me into judo since I was 4.5. Kind of just like messed around, kind of didn't really care. And then I had a good, what they call a seonage. It's like a arm throw basically in wrestling. And then my freshman year, I met my club coach, and then he helped develop my judo style into Greco, and then just like slowly paid off. Because like my freshman year, I went 1 and 2 in Greco. Then sophomore year, I got 5th, and then junior year, I got 2nd, and senior year, I got 1st. So it's like it all kind of just developed with it. And then my senior year was just like, I wouldn't say I got a lot better at Greco. It's more so my confidence was like, I'm winning this tournament. I don't give a fuck what like is in my way. I'm gonna win this thing.
Yeah. That had to be pretty rewarding too, to see it linearly go up like that. Like to go from not placing 5th, 2nd, 1st. You couldn't ask for much more than that, really.
So interesting story at Fargo was my freshman year when I went 1 and 2 in Greco. I thought I was gonna All-American because I bumped up into juniors, less kids, have a better shot at All-American. And then I was just in the stands eating my Cold Stone ice cream. I was just pissed off in the stands, just like kind of like pouting almost. My coach comes up to me and he's like, let's get back to work. One day you're going to come back and win this tournament. So then like when I won it, it was like,
trust the process, dude.
Hell yeah.
Full circle moment right there.
Trust the process. Yeah. That's
Pays off.
100%.
It's awesome.
Yeah, so Burwick, finish up your high school career. So you're sophomore, junior, senior.
Yeah, and then once, like I was saying, once I kind of got serious about, hey, I'm going to wrestle in college, like this is really what I want to do. I thought I was going to be a 25-pounder coming in at college for at least a couple years, maybe a year.
Yeah.
Because I talked it over with my dad and some of my other coaches and stuff, and I'm like, hey, what should I wrestle my senior year? I'm not cutting a ton of weight to get to 26. I feel like I'm strong. I feel like I'm done growing, And they said, hey, either you bump up 2 weights your junior year and you go up to 32 and you wrestle 32 for 2 years straight, or you wrestle 26. And then so I just figured I'd wrestle 26 both years and finish it out. And I ended up getting 4th at Fargo, both my junior and senior year. So going into college, I pretty much had my mindset on, hey, I'm going to be 25. And then, college hits and you get some better nutrition, a lot more lifting, a lot more specialized lifting. You get bigger and, then I was at 33 for the next 6 years. And
right.
Now 61. So.
Yeah, so give me a little breakdown of your initial recruitment process in going to Wisconsin. Like, was there a lot of schools that reached out to you, or how did that go?
Yeah, so the whole recruiting process was, it was fun, but it was a lot. It was a lot. I was talking to pretty much every school in North Dakota, all the NAI Division II and NDSU at the time. So kind of high on my radar was Nebraska, South Dakota State. Once the coaching staff at South Dakota State at the time, my junior year, once they took, the positions out at Wisconsin, I kind of thought, like they're going to be kind of done with me. I'm a little bit farther away from Wisconsin. That's Big Ten stuff. So kind of fast forward a little bit, they reached out super interested in me still. So, that was.
So when did that coaching change happen?
That happened the tail end of my junior year. So that was kind of right when, at the time, I think the NCAA rules were still you couldn't contact people until that summer of their sophomore going on junior year. I think it's different now. I think they can. I'm not quite sure.
Pretty sure it's still junior year.
I
think it's
I think it's officially they can't contact you until August of your junior year. Yeah. Okay. Officially.
Okay. So I think that's what I want to say. It was right around that time was when, a lot of teams started reaching out to me and stuff.
So it was right away?
Yeah, pretty much right away. Actually, it was right after Fargo, my junior year. So it was,
that worked out perfect.
Yeah, I mean, I used to stay with Jared Franick, out, he lives 5 minutes away from the Fargo Dome. We got done with the tournament, went back to his place, and just immediately it was like I was getting some calls, not a ton, but I talked to 3 or 4 schools just then. And then, they took the job out there. I would say my final 3 kind of came down to South Dakota State, Nebraska, Wisconsin.
Yep.
And I really wanted to wrestle in the Big Ten. I think it was good for me, in my head at the time, get out of my comfort zone. I've been pretty much staying small town my entire life. I hadn't really known anything else. So, and they had pretty much all 3 schools had programs that I wanted to go into for teaching. So, and that was my plan right away. I haven't really deviated from that school-wise. So now I'm kind of finishing up that whole graduate portion of that now. But they had a good program for school. They had a good college of education. Went out to Wisconsin, and then from there, I spent 3 years there. Transferred to Nebraska, my last 2. Got my degree, got my undergraduate degree at Nebraska, and then it was time to come home.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So maybe go a little more into kind of whatever you want to hit on those years at Wisconsin and then the year at Nebraska, what that looked like. Because was it 1 year at Nebraska?
2.
2 years at Nebraska. Yep. Okay. So, yeah, maybe touch on what you liked, didn't like there, both places.
Yeah.
Or, why you left Wisconsin to go to Nebraska.
Yeah.
What made you think, let's leave. It's time.
Yeah. Honestly, when I look back on my 6 years in college, they did not go any sort of way that I thought it would.
Yeah.
Also outside of, how I wrestled wise, just life wise. When I first got to college, everything was normal. I was trying to adjust. I wouldn't say I was necessarily homesick. I guess I was just trying to grow up, living on your own for the first time. But
Probably a big adjustment.
Yeah. And then learning to wrestle at the college level is hard. My redshirt year, I remember that preseason leading up to, the regular season, and then having to wrestle unattached as a redshirt. This kind of speaks to how old I am, dude. Redshirt years, you couldn't wrestle attached at all. We didn't have the 5 dates that you could wrestle. So everything I was wrestling at was opens.
Right.
You know.
That was a great rule that they added.
Yeah.
I felt like.
I feel like that role is awesome.
Has that been 1 or 2 years since they've added
I think this year was the second year.
Yeah.
It was there.
I think that's great for pretty much all the college guys because one, you can wrestle, like some actual competition that you're going to see. It opens up some flexibility for the coaching staff to put some of the red shirts in, and because guys get dinged up throughout the season. You might need somebody to step in, and without that, it's like, okay, well, we might not have another guy at this weight, and you don't want to see any forfeits in a college duel or anything like that. But yeah, about 6-7 months into that redshirt year, and COVID hits. and that we were training leading up to. So I went with the team as a redshirt to the Big Ten tournament, and that was at Rutgers. I remember that. I was pretty much, kind of like Gross's training partner, helping those guys get ready for the tournament, just whatever they needed. And then we come back, and you start seeing all over, in like Twitter and Instagram and stuff, you just see this weird thing. It's like, what the hell is this COVID thing? It's just no idea. And you didn't even see a lot of it. It was just like here and there.
Yeah, really random.
And then like 3 days, oh boy, I think it was 3 days before we were gonna leave, or over that weekend time. We're kind of getting ready. Practices are obviously, slowing down. They're more specific for those guys going. The coaches all call us in. We have this team meeting. They say that the national tournament's canceled. Everybody's got to go home. There ain't nothing to it. They don't really have a bunch of answers. Freshmen, by the way, you got to be out of the dorms by 1 o'clock tomorrow. And I'm like, I live 14 hours away from home, man. What do you want me to do?
Yeah.
And they're like,
It's like, thanks, guys.
they're like, we don't know. You just got to go. And I'm like,
Wild.
oh boy, this changed really fast. I remember my dorm roommate at the time, Dan Stilling. Shout out Dan Stilling, awesome guy. I gave him as much crap as I could, and he had my TV, he had my futon, whatever, like a bunch of this stuff, because he only lived an hour away from Madison, and so he was my storage facility for that entire year. But I remember gassing up my car that morning, and gas was like $1.14, filled up for like $14.
Yeah.
Hey.
Those are the
And I
days.
was like, hell yeah, this can't be too bad.
Yeah.
Like 2 weeks off, that's what everybody kept on telling me. Like, yeah, school will be off for like 2 weeks, and then you can come back. Mm-hmm. So I didn't think it was gonna be that long, and then and that was a rough time for me, because I had felt like I had just kind of started my stride in college.
Right.
Like I was in a college room. I was with college coaches, college partners. It wasn't like I was back in Hettinger where, I had great partners and stuff, but, they didn't wrestle, all the time. Like
not at that level.
So a lot of the time I was just training on my own. I mean, just, just countless workouts of just me by myself in the wrestling room. And I feel like that helped me learn a lot of work ethic, a lot of, toughness and stuff. But I also felt like I needed to get better at wrestling, and I needed to work on wrestling skills.
Right.
Technically.
There's only so much you can do by yourself.
Yeah. When you don't have a partner, like
right.
You can think about it, but it's like, I need some reps.
You can wrestle in the air. That's about it.
Yeah, I got good at wrestling the air.
Yeah.
That and jumping rope, right in front of the heater.
Yeah.
But, I headed back to Hettinger, and then that turned into like 8 months.
Dang.
Wow.
And finished up school online. I felt bad for a lot of the professors. They pretty much just gave everybody A's. They're like, I can't teach this class on a dime online.
Right. It's just impossible.
Yeah. I remember that's how high school was. It was like basically, here's an A.
Yeah.
You pass.
I felt bad for a lot of teachers and stuff, because
right.
that was bad for them too. I mean, my dad was teaching PE at the time. They were trying to make him, teach it online. I'm like, he's like,
How do you even do that?
he's like, what am I gonna? I can't do this. Like this isn't gonna help the kids. Like, but yeah, spent 8 months or however long that was. It felt like a year, and back in Hettinger, and just kind of tried to stay training as best I could. A lot of running, a lot of lifting, and then headed back and had a good couple years. I felt like I still needed to develop my wrestling. Like that was the thing. I feel like trained really hard, but I felt like I needed to develop my wrestling. And when I came to that decision to transfer to Nebraska, a lot of feelings from when I was first getting recruited came back, and I felt like, I wanted to go to Nebraska, in my heart. And, luckily I had a lot of talks with my parents. I had a lot of talks with my family. I felt like it was the best decision for me. So entered the portal, talked with the coaches at Nebraska, and, kind of made it happen. And, they gave me plenty of opportunities to, get training right away, be training freestyle, wrestle more in the summer.
Yeah.
They had a good program for me to continue, finishing up my undergrad degree. And fast forward to wrestling at Nebraska, that room was very deep.
Yeah.
At the time when I first came in, just at 33 alone, there was me, Dom Serrano, and I wrestled Dom in the Big 12 finals this season.
Yeah.
Alex Thompson, who had been kind of the starter pretty much most of the time.
And is Alex Thompson Nebraska originally?
He's Iowa.
Iowa.
Yep,
Was
Alex.
he like 4-time state champ or no?
Yeah, I want to say 3 or 4.
Okay. I remember I had heard that name. He was really good in high school.
Yeah, Alex was, and he's really, really good at Greco too. But Alex, and then Boo Dryden, who JUCO national champ,
Right.
wrestled, NCAA qualifier for Minnesota the year before. So just right there alone, we had all 4 of us were national qualifiers.
Yeah.
Placed highs at Big Tens.
Right.
So the depth at that room was it was tough, but it was awesome. It really drove a lot of us to get better. And then I felt like technically I started making a lot of gains. I started learning how to hand fight. I started learning how to scramble. I started learning how to manage some match strategy a little bit more. And then I felt like I made some big gains really, really quick, really, really quick. And I felt like that was kind of what I was missing, what I was looking for. So I'm really grateful for that. Made some really, really good relationships with the coaches, with a lot of the guys there.
Yeah.
And then,
So how did they go about picking their guy? Like with all 4 of you guys there, I'm sure they did a wrestle off, but
Yep.
usually that doesn't mean everything.
So the coaches at Nebraska were clear cut through with their expectations, and they would tell it to us multiple times throughout the preseason and then even throughout the season. So they take into account, what's your work ethic like? How do you work in the room and outside the room? Are you good in school, or are you just kind of taking school and just pushing it to the side and all you're doing is wrestling? Then the wrestle off. So they did host wrestle offs, which at Wisconsin we never had wrestle offs. So we never had any clear idea. We never had,
And that's almost frustrating.
yeah.
It's like you don't even exactly know. And wrestle offs don't mean everything, but it's nice to see what the head-to-head matchup looks like.
Oh yeah, definitely. And I had always kind of been in a situation where I was at a weight where, I was going to need to beat another guy in the room, that was tough. At Wisconsin, I was wrestling with, Ethan Rotundo, and Rotundo was tough, and he went back to Cal Poly for his senior year, made the national tournament, and, but yeah, they would take into account the wrestle off, work ethic, how you carrying yourself outside of the room, inside the room, and then just competition, how do you compete against, other guys? So they were very clear with their expectations, and, to me, I really appreciated that. It's like, you know what it is. It's hard at this level, and it is what it is, like at the end of the day, we're here to win. So
Sure.
Yeah, I was that whole first year I was there, I was kind of working through a whole eligibility kind of tough situation. That was kind of right when, the transfer portal is still kind of a unknown gray area. And at the time, they had just implemented specific transfer windows that nobody knew about unless your athletic department told you, in which when I transferred to Nebraska, that whole first year I spent pretty much like every day in the compliance office working with a lot of the compliance people at Nebraska, and they were awesome. You know, like they nothing but complete support and everything like that. Yeah, like there were specific, and that was the first year they implemented it. Nobody even knew. Fortunately, I was outside the window, and I hadn't even known that. I was like, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
They didn't, as athletes, those are the types of small fine print detail that unless you specifically go looking for it, they're not going to tell you.
Yeah. And it's like really, you don't care. It's like when you were at Wisconsin, you're thinking, I'm going to be here the whole time. This doesn't even matter to me. Sign the line.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Like
Yeah.
it's a tough decision to, to leave a school and then and then go to another school. Like it's not an easy decision. That weighs a lot on you. It's kind of a tough time. Like you got to lean on your support system,
Right.
and but fast forward through that, get that all figured out over Christmas break. I'm able to wrestle, the second half of the season. Started the second half of the season, and then my next year there ended up, kind of in and out of the lineup a little bit. Lost the wrestle off, kind of in a tough position. So, I finished up my degree, which was nice, and then was able to, once you get your degree and you're looking for opportunities to further your education, that's kind of where it gets narrowed down. I did a semester at grad school at Nebraska, not really in an area I was trying to get. And in my mind, if you're going to go to school, especially post-undergrad, you should be doing it in something that is worthwhile.
Yeah, for sure.
Me personally, I'm trying to be a physical education teacher. I'm not trying to teach math. And when I'm in, and I knew that North Dakota had, North Dakota State had a really, really good physical education program. So, and I felt like moving forward from Nebraska, being closer to home, being closer to family, a lot of guys that I know, that I grew up with, just like Bowden, like that was going to be really good for me. So, that's kind of a short, long version of me rambling about 6 years of college.
So you said when you got to Nebraska, like you made like bigger jumps a lot. Would you like more credit that to the partners, or like was the coaching staff there a lot better that they helped elevate you, or was it because you were, like you said, you had 3 guys there that were top tier? Was it practicing with them every day, or what do you think like really helped you?
Well, I think that was a big help. Obviously, like I think having good partners in the room is paramount to how much progress you can make and how much they can push you and how much they can work with you. But I think the biggest factor was that the coaches at Nebraska, the program itself had a system for developing wrestlers. There was a system to the hand fight. There was a system to scrambling. There was a system to, and it was something that I noticed right away, that I was like, whoa, we work on this, and this, and then we add something new, and then we come back and we work on those same principles, all the time, and we see it. I felt it all the time in the training, and for me, that was something that I felt like I really needed, and as a wrestler to continue to develop those skills, and I feel like that's carried me on to how I've developed my style now and moving forward, like what I want to do. So they got like I said, they got a system to hand fighting specifically. They got a system to what are your setups, They got a system to, okay, here's our main leg attacks. What's going to fit your style best? And then we got a whole system to, college wrestling in this, in this era, you got to know how to scramble.
You do.
I mean, and honestly, that was one of the biggest areas that I felt like I lacked. In high school, I didn't need to scramble. We never really were exposed to, that sort of level of wrestling. When I think of my high school experience compared to your high school experience, right, in Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
You got a lot of kids that are exposed to a lot of different styles of wrestling and a lot of different techniques. So for you to win a state title in Pennsylvania, you're going to need to be exposed to all that.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like that's just, that's not a knock on North Dakota. Obviously, me, I'm a North Dakota boy. Like,
for sure.
Like, I'm North Dakota or die, man.
Yeah, 100%.
But it's like, I'm not gonna argue against.
It's like the kids that you were wrestling, especially later in your career, they were praying to not get tech fault. I mean, there's no technique thing that you're seeing that you're like, oh yeah, this is what I'm gonna see in college. It's like, how can I smash this kid as best as I can?
I mean, Sandy, if I'm going to put it this way, you could go through, and Bowden can kind of speak on this too. You can go through a whole season, once you're at that 17 years old, you can go through that whole season without anybody touching your legs.
Yeah.
And then you get into the college room, right? You get into the college room that first summer and you're like chomping at the bit and it's like, you can't take anybody down. And everybody is just in on your legs nonstop, and you're like, I haven't had to sprawl this much since I was like 5, and all we did in practice was sprawl.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
It's like, holy shit.
But yeah, I mean, that's just kind of how I feel like their approach as a program, like that's kind of the core foundation of how they run it.
Yeah.
Now, I will say it's very similar to how we run our program here. How do the coaches do that? Because it didn't feel like this whole past, year, basically, that I've been in Fargo. It's felt like we have the same kind of core foundation. It's like, hey, here's how we do this. This is how we want, you can tweak it a little bit to your style, but hey, this is probably the best moving forward, unless you're one of those guys that just has a style that works on its own.
Yeah.
But for me, developmental wise, I feel like having a system, thinking about wrestling in that way has helped me a lot.
Right.
I can agree with that. I mean, that's kind of how it was with me at M2. We kind of had our system. It was go get your collar tie, move them, fake snaps. A lot of snaps because David was big on that. Like, that was like his favorite thing to do. And then try to get to IC. And then we were big on scrambling. I mean, we did far ankle scrambles every day. And I think, like you said, having that system really helped me. Because it's like, what to do. Like, this doesn't work, go to this, then go to this, and then this.
And it doesn't freak you out.
Yeah.
Like, when wrestling gets scary is a bad feeling.
Yeah.
That was also, like, 3 pillars of the wrestling that we had there. Never be surprised, never be scared, and never be embarrassed. Like,
that's really good.
That's something I wanted to share with you guys here. Like, never be surprised, never be embarrassed, and never be scared. So, like, if you know how to wrestle in those things and your mind works high level wrestling wise, it's like, I know how to do this.
Yeah.
I can do this. We work on this all the time. Think of some of the toughest wrestling matches that you guys have been in, and then think of some of the toughest practices that you've been in. It's like you know how to train, and you put yourself through some really, really hard shit that sucked. And yeah, there's some workouts that might make you wake up at night in like a cold sweat, like And you know it's going to be bad when you get nervous before the workout.
Yeah.
I know you guys have had that feeling.
Yeah. So I guess going into that, do you have any one specific workout that you remember that was like, why am I here?
I got a few of them in mind. My redshirt year, it was getting close to the end of the season before COVID happened and everything, and I was going with Gross that day, and then coaches walked in. Yep, it's getting close to the end of the season. You guys know what you need. Get what you need, and just me and Gross just wrestled live. Just I couldn't even tell you how long. We were just.
So there was like no coach, anything,
nothing.
just you and Gross.
Just and Gross just didn't. I can't even remember if he said like, yeah, we're just gonna wrestle. It was none of that. It was just warm up a little bit, do a couple push-ups, and then it was just go. And it was just nonstop, and I remember us just scrapping in the middle of the mat and looking over. Guys are already showered and leaving, and we're just still. No words spoken. It's just like mutual wrestler agreement.
Yeah.
But it was awesome.
Right.
Probably got taken down a few too many times in the red shirt, but that was something that I knew going into college that some of those workouts and stuff are gonna get like way harder. Mm-hmm. But that's those types of workouts when it was just sprint for an undisclosed amount of time, and if you can make it through that and you can find that level of grit when you're wrestling. Everybody's in at this level. If you're in the room, you're good. Mm-hmm. You know how to wrestle, and whether you're going to be a guy that's going to start by year 4 or you're a guy that could start as a true freshman, it's like nothing's going to be given. Nobody's just going to give stuff up, and if you can put yourself through that and you can do it and you find enjoyment in that, that's when I knew. I was like, man, as the competition level rises and as this type of stuff gets harder, I just love it even more, Now, in the moment, sometimes you're like, damn, this sucks.
Yep.
But, just, those are the ones that come to mind when it's just sprint for an undisclosed amount of time and, you really have to flip your brain to, okay, when is this over, to, all right, let's go, And
yeah, that's impressive to be able to do that. Yeah, to be honest.
But that's incredible. But it is like a constant battle,
right?
Like it's. The funny thing is that you have to remind, and I've been working on this. You have to remind yourself that everybody has the same thoughts going in, right? National tournament. Everybody's gonna be nervous. They're human, just like you. But how you overcome that, how you carry yourself, that's going to be, other people are going to be like, man, he's like so locked in and this is the national tournament. How can we, and I'm not saying I'm perfect at it.
Yeah.
But it's like, it's something that has helped me and I've been working on that. It's like, they're human just like you, wrestling gives you those types of nerves and that type of mental stress that it affects everybody. It's not like some people don't have it. They just know how to compartmentalize that.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, it's something I could definitely work on too. Sometimes you get so caught up in your own head and you're like, you forget that guy's nervous too. And you're like, man, look at him. He looks locked in. He could be thinking the same things you're thinking.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and he probably is.
Yeah, for sure.
Most likely. It's like there's really nobody that doesn't have those feelings. Like you said, it's just you're able to kind of disguise it better.
Funny enough, in a sport like ours where it's you pitted against another man, the thing that helps you the most is by focusing on yourself, not what he's doing.
Yeah.
you know, and this is, you know, a lot of hours of practice, a lot of matches that didn't go my way, a lot of matches that I performed bad in, you know, like it's all kind of, I've learned it all adds up to where, you know, I'm like, okay, when do I feel like you're in that flow state of wrestling? And it's like, well, I'm focusing on myself. I'm not being reactionary, you know. I'm doing the things that I want to try and get to, you know. Do I want to try and get to this side of the body? Do I want to try and get to my post? Do I want, you know, and that takes the embarrassment, the fear, the surprise out of wrestling. You know how to wrestle, you know, you've been doing it, you know, you have that instinct. You've been training. Most of us, you know, you've been training almost your entire life.
Yeah.
Right.
For like this single thing, and you do it almost every single day. So, you know how to wrestle, you know, and that has brought a lot more fun to wrestling. Wrestling should be fun.
Yeah.
You know, that's, you know, funny enough, somebody who thinks that way, and I know you guys are thinking, is like Brock Hardy. Like, that dude, you know, he helped me, me and him just chopping it up after practice or before practice or something, just like listening to how that sort of mindset can make wrestling fun. And it's like, yeah, it's hard. Of course it's a hard thing. We wouldn't be doing it if we didn't, deep down inside, you didn't really enjoy that kind of challenge. It's like that overcoming hard stuff.
Yeah.
You know, you feel good about, I mean, I feel like that's just human nature. Like you want to challenge yourself and overcome some difficult things. It's like, how good do you feel when like you do something easy?
Yeah.
It's like,
Very good.
it's like I could have done this in my sleep.
Yeah.
I would say like that's why like, so every week we put like hours and hours into training, and then when it's all for just that one moment of 7 minutes on the mat, and I think that's why it's like you see so much emotions come out, win or lose. Like when you win, you see like the highest of highs of emotions, and when you lose, you see the lowest of lows emotions, because it's just like you dedicate, even off the mat, like things you do, you're like everything you do is to try and like win this match. So that's why it's like I think it means a lot more to us versus like the average person. They just like see us lose or win, they're like, oh, good job, you know. It's but like the things that go behind it's a lot deeper.
They don't really understand like how dedicated you have to be, and because they've never, like most people in their life have never like done what we've done, like dedicate almost your whole life to a sport just to try to win a 7-minute match or try to get yourself on the podium at the NCAAs. It's like we're trying to dedicate our lives to this. We have 4 years or 5 years to do that, and you just got to take everything you do.
COVID.
Yeah. If you're on, you got 6.
Yeah.
But you're just trying to dedicate yourself to get up there, and everything you do, everything you think about is just trying for that. And I don't feel like people understand that like at all.
Yeah, the average person in the U.S. especially is so average. It's like they're fat. They've never done anything hard. Like everything is just easy, instant gratification, especially with your phones now too. It's like constant dopamine rush all the time. How they're basically just getting through the day. They're not hardly thinking about anything else. It's like we are in such an upper echelon that sometimes we almost forget how elite that we are.
That's why wrestling is never going, at least in my mind, wrestling's never going to be the football of America, the basketball of America, because it's hard. Now, it's growing, which is awesome.
Yeah.
It's bigger than it's ever been. But at the same time, for as big, you know, as bad as we want, man, we want like wrestling to be huge. Like, how cool would that be? Like a duel in front of 40,000 people all the time, you know? But it's too difficult.
Yeah.
You know, like it's hard. It's not easy. Sometimes it sucks, but
A lot of the time.
But that whole challenge and that whole level of adversity is you got to be wired a little bit different to buy into that. And that's something that, like you said, I don't think a lot of wrestlers or people in general affiliated with wrestling kind of like, give to themselves. It's good to kind of recognize that, or just acknowledge that and remember that.
Right. Like, I feel like you can see in a lot of other sports too, is like you just see super like people who are just athletic and they can just be good and they go far just like based off what they're given. Like they're not really going to work hard or like put in that much effort, and they're just going to go far because they're just athletic. But I feel like you don't really see that in wrestling because there's so many kids that work hard. And if this guy's just athletic and this guy's working harder and not as athletic, he's going to beat that guy. And I feel like that's why another thing that makes us like so different is you can't just have talent. You have to have dedication, hard work, effort, mindset, and everything. And you're going to beat the talent guy. And that's why those guys, like, there's not many of us. There's just, it's completely different than any other sport.
Agreed.
Sure.
That's why I love wrestling, because it's like you almost can control your outcome. It's like how hard you work is what you're going to get to an extent.
Yeah. Definitely more than most other sports, for sure. Yeah, I'd say going into that, you should give me a breakdown of this year at NDSU, like especially competing-wise, like what was going through your head from the start to finish and how you felt about results and stuff like that.
Getting here, it was a little less than a year from like today. It was kind of when I was able to come back here, but it was, we hit the ground running right away. I mean, we were training, still kind of freestyle and just getting to know everybody. Obviously, I was kind of used to that feeling by now. I'm like, new kid on the block, new old guy.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I feel like coaching wise, our coaches have done like when I think of this past year, I had great relationships with the coaches. I mean, they do care about us. They want the best for us, and having that base level of trust is you need that with your coaches, especially in a sport like wrestling. So moving forward through that, kind of started out the year a little bit rough. I wanted to wrestle. I haven't wrestled a lot of freestyle, and once you get to college, you don't get to wrestle freestyle and Greco all that often. Mm-hmm. And it seems like right when the college season gets done, you start training it for quite a while, and it's like I might get to wrestle it like once.
Right.
And that's it. So I was chomping at the bit to compete right away. So I went and wrestled at World Team Trials. Didn't really go, I felt like I was trying to put into motion some of the things that we were working on here. I came back and I was like, like back to the drawing board a little bit, like, or, not scrap all that, but at the same time, focus a little bit more energy into it. And a lot of that for me was like match strategy, stuff like that. Mindset, tactics, wrestling to my strengths. So, start of the season, I think kind of my trajectory of my season kind of followed like exactly what our teams was. The team that we were in November compared to the team that we were in, March, February.
Absolutely.
Completely different. Mm-hmm. I mean, and I think people on the outside, that have zero idea of what's going on internally with us, they definitely could have seen that too.
For sure.
Because the team that we wrestled as at Virginia was 10 times different than the team that we were when we wrestled at, even the scuffle.
Right.
So, yeah, I started off the season kind of rough, honestly. Definitely in my head a little bit too much because I felt like, I was kind of, I was kind of thinking too much. I should. I'm old. I'm experienced. Not. I'm
older.
Yeah. I'm a senior. I'm experienced. I should know how to wrestle this. I should know how to prepare. And instead of focusing on just like, hey, here's what I have to do. Like this is what I have to do to prepare. and this is what I'm going to do, and control what I can control rather than I should do this. I should be able to, win the first match that I'm wrestling this season.
Do you think like coming in as like the older guy put a lot of pressure on you, or like did you feel like the pressure that, all right, I'm the older guy, transferred in, like they kind of need me to perform, they kind of need me to be a leader, or did you not like really think about that?
Funny enough, not really. Like I feel like my first 3 years, maybe even going on to 4 of college, I felt that pressure a lot. I was just manifesting that pressure in my head, like I need to perform well. I need to, show my coaches, show my family. I feel like a lot of rocky performances, ups and downs, helped me kind of get over that hump. So that wasn't necessarily, what I was feeling. I think it was more personal. I was like trying to prove something to myself, but at the same time, not in the right way. Mm-hmm. Thinking, hey, I should, I know what I'm doing. I got a ton of experience. I should be able to do this. I should be able to. And so fast forward to once we kind of get to our dual season is kind of where I had to take, that first weekend really, and, had a rocky duel right away against Virginia, had a rocky, Southeast Open, and I was like, hey, let's be real with myself. Let's, face the hard truth. All right, how do we want the rest of the season to go? Are we really going to feel sorry for ourselves? Are we going to beat ourselves up, or are we just going to get back to work? And just like you've been doing. And I feel like that was a good conversation that I needed to have with myself. And then moving forward from there, not dealing with that pressure that I would put on myself, I feel like 19, 20-year-old me would have been very, very nervous wrestling in front of a lot of people from North Dakota, for the first time. For me, it was just having fun with it. Yeah. And then moving forward, there was never any pressure for me to say that, unironically, that I should make the national tournament. I should be able to make it far into the conference tournament because, quick little story. My first year at Nebraska, that second semester, dropped a bunch of Big Ten matches in a row. And I was just feeling like, man, I'm right there. I should be able to do this. Like, I should be able to finish these matches out and wrestle at the Big Ten tournament and have the worst tournament of my life. 0-3.
Yeah.
Not 0-2, 0-3.
Yeah.
And lose twice in the main bracket, lose in the 9th place bracket, done, season over. And it took a long time for me, a couple rough months after that to really face the reality of, like, you're not entitled to anything. You're not, whatever you did at the Big Ten tournament the year before doesn't entitle you to make the national tournament and do even better the next year. It's like, I've made it out of this tournament twice before. I should be able to do it again. And not surprising. I wrestled the worst matches that I probably had ever wrestled in college, because when your mind is off in another place, your wrestling, imitates it. So I feel like kind of hitting my stride this season at the Scuffle. It's like really good. Wrestling fearless was kind of the word that a lot of courage and a lot of fear, or being fearless was kind of the thing that I wanted to just tell myself moving forward, and just trusting in our coaches, trusting in the process that we have, our training, my team, myself, believing that I can do it. Yeah, hit the scuffle. I feel like that was kind of when I was starting to figure some things out, feeling like, okay, I got a good game plan for how I want to approach every match. I got a good game plan for, certain styles that I'm going to see moving forward, and never really focusing too much on way ahead. That's what I kept telling myself. If my mind ever started thinking about, okay, how do we want to wrestle at Big 12s? How do I want these next 4 duels to go? I would always kind of bring myself back. Nothing matters except the one in front of you right here. And I felt like that just helped me stay present. The only task at hand is what's in front of us right now, and never thinking too far forward, and honestly, never really dealing with any of that, manifested pressure or anything like that. Just focusing on where am I best, how do I wrestle my best matches, let's go do that, and not focusing on records, not focusing on wins or losses, anything like that, and I feel like that had been, this past season had been kind of a culmination of, my whole college career, like putting together, all those lessons that I've had to learn and a lot of stuff that really sucked to go through. I was like, all right, let's make that count. Let's put it all together and just, and really just be the best version of myself, not only as a wrestler, but as a person. And, still mess up sometimes, but, nobody's perfect. Mm-hmm. So, kind of hit, Big 12 conference duels, and just, by that time I felt like, I had all the tools that I wanted moving forward. I was like, okay, now we just pick up some momentum. And then really, Big 12 tournament and not making it bigger than it is, and, end up making the finals. And then, unfortunately, I felt like I had a lot of momentum going towards the end of the season.
Yeah.
So having such lofty goals, having a lot of drive and passion for the sport and everything, to have it, kind of have my season end that way, it's been tough. But, I think I'm starting to think a little bit more about the journey aspect of it. As bad as I think my own mind doesn't want to, because, in this sport, at this level, we're all, that podium in March is what every kid dreams about, every college guy is dreaming about. So
For sure.
But I think at the end of the day, just really, when I reflect on this past season, just not having any regrets about, approaching competition, how you train, how you carry yourself, and that's been something that I've had around me. My dad has been, very impactful on me on that, as well as, a lot of other mentors and coaches that I've had. The biggest thing you want at the end of your career is to not have any regrets. Did I work hard enough? Did I take it serious enough? Did I, the saying that is always, I feel like at this point is ingrained in me is leave no stone left unturned. Did you work as hard as you could? Even when, and sometimes working as hard as you can and being dedicated and committed might feel like you're not doing enough, because you don't feel like doing it. But that's the thing, you know, when you don't feel like doing it, when you don't feel like training, when you don't feel like going in that wrestling room that day, that's when it really matters. And
For sure.
so, yeah, you know, this season, honestly, been one of the most fun experiences that I've had in wrestling. Just the team that we have, the guys that I'm around, the coaches that we've had, the trips that we were on, you know, as tough as it is for me, you know, this past, you know, month, and I think moving forward, it's still going to be tough, because it's honestly some feelings and emotions that I've never encountered before, you know, knowing that, hey, you know, folk style wrestling's done.
Right.
You know, that's a hard, you know, it's kind of tough for your mind to comprehend those things. The way that I've put it when I've visited with people is it's that feeling of finality that you don't really get that often in life. I mean,
No.
if, you know, when you graduate high school or something, not that's got the same magnitude as finishing up wrestling, but it's like you kind of have that feeling that something's coming to an end.
Right.
And that
I would say, Kyle, it was really to like see where you were at the beginning of the year to the end, and kind of like be the staple of the NDSU wrestling team. It was really cool to watch, especially with like the way you really you just help elevate the whole room, kind of, because like obviously you did good, and you didn't do good at first, but you kept working. Obviously found that turning point, and then just the way you kind of like made NDSU like kind of like made us proud again, like after like everything it's been through the last few years, and then it feels like you kind of brought us back to like, all right, we're back on the rise. And it was cool to see the crowd loved you. I mean, everyone loved to watch you. They're like, wait, let's see how Burwick's gonna wrestle. Get that figure four, get him, baby, get him.
Yeah.
It was just really cool to see, and just this whole year it was cool to watch you. And I just wanted to.
I appreciate
It was really something I feel for like the whole team to kind of like have you come back and do what you did. It was awesome for us. It's awesome for the future, and awesome for you.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, and one thing I think you could have a lot of clarity with as your folk style career has now wrapped up is it's like, whether you agree or disagree, I've watched you for a long time, and seeing this last year, especially the back half of this last year, you were the best wrestler that I've ever seen you be before. It was like, you know, you'd had some great performances, but it was really up and down, and then you'd figured it out right at the end. And I feel like looking at my career here coming, that's what I strive to be able to do. I hope that at the very end, that's when my best performance comes, because then I can be happy with how it was done. And I feel like that's something you can be really excited about.
I appreciate that, man.
Yeah.
You know, like I said, this has been, you know, this whole past year has been and that's, it was sort of a feeling of peace of mind, and that's how I kind of knew. I was like, oh man, this is like fun. You know, I feel like a kid again, even though like at this level, you know, everybody you're going to wrestle is going to, like, they're going to be out to tear your freaking head off.
Yeah.
You know, so we are wired different that way, because it's like, why would any sane person enjoy that? Of what our team was like, you know, or how this year goes 10 times, you know, and this was the specific example that we got, you know, this year. If we run it 9 other times, we probably, you know, like, it could have gone south so many different ways. Fucking everybody on the team hates each other, or you know, the way we wrestled at Virginia was the way the entire rest of the season goes, and we just fall apart, you know, and like everybody loses faith in each other, but it's not. And I think that is a testament to the type of guys we have on the team, the system that we have in place, and then what it's going to be like moving forward. And that starts with, I'm just glad that, me coming into that position, like the position of, okay, I know I'm like not the oldest guy on the team. Baker is the oldest guy.
True.
Okay. So not Gramps. I can be he's the second oldest. But, but I was like, dude, I'm one of the seniors, and so I didn't have this idea of I'm gonna freaking drill it into these guys. I was like, no. I'm still part of the team. I'm not, there was no feeling of like, oh, I'm better than you. Like I'm better than the young guys or anything. It was like, how can I use my experience, where I, being one of the North Dakota guys, how can I help elevate this team? Right. So hearing that, I mean, that means a lot, and for me moving forward, that's been something that, having such a great coaching staff and these guys being so supportive of us and stuff. And for me, them giving me the opportunity to help the program moving forward, like that is meant, and I think the next step for me is to just, in my head, I don't see myself leaving NDSU. Like I want to, I feel like that stems from a lot of, North Dakota, love. Like a lot of people in North Dakota have poured a lot into me and helped me in so many different ways. I want to be able to help our university. And, like you said, I think our team, we're on the rise, man. Like
For sure.
And that's one of the best places to be at. It's like, that whole pursuit of just making everybody around you better in whatever way that is, on the mat, off the mat, as a person, as an athlete, as a coach, like that's, I think I'm starting to grasp that as as you get older through the sport. Like you start to kind of, see the importance of that. But, maybe 10 years from now, it's like we can sit down and I can, and we'll BS about it. And I'll be like, dude, that is the prime goal of what we do,
For sure.
So I don't know, man. Like it's been, it's been a blessing. Awesome. That's probably the best way to put it. It's been a blessing.
All right, let's, we'll finish up with a few very important questions here. Right. So we'll kind of rapid fire these a little bit. First one is, who's the best dodgeball player in the room?
Well, it's not Devin Wasley.
Amen to that.
Amen.
Biggest cheater, though.
Yeah.
Biggest cheater.
Yeah.
Biggest cheater.
Yeah.
Like consistently good. I got to throw out Mike Olson's name.
Yep.
Kid's got, did he play baseball?
Yeah. Pitcher.
Yeah. Of course. Okay, that's why.
Yeah.
Kid's got an arm on him.
Yeah.
But
got hands too.
He does have hands. But consistently, I mean, okay, I'm just gonna throw out some names: Mike Olson, Mattingly. You know what? I'll throw out you.
Yeah.
Just to glaze the podcast host. Sandy's unironically pretty good for being a big. I feel like being a big target's kind of tough.
Yeah. He's got a
make
cannon.
it work, baby.
He's got a cannon.
But really, funny enough, I don't think there's like a standout guy in the room because everybody's
good.
Like there's like a tier level.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm not gonna put myself in the tier level because just the games I'm playing are exhibition now. I told you guys that.
True.
The games that I've been playing the last few weeks because I said I wouldn't play anymore, but these are just exhibition. It's practice for me.
Yeah.
My career ended on that game that I won in the preseason.
Yeah.
Just to preface that.
Yeah.
Just to preface that. But
1 for 50, by the way.
whatever. Went out on a win.
True. True.
So there's like that whole level of guys, and there's probably like group of maybe like 7 or 8 that can consistently stay in the game, and then there's like a tier below it where they're always down, and they might get in. Like a guy that comes to mind is Blackburn. Like normally he's down a lot. Down on the mat. Might get in like final 2 or 3 by hitting somebody, and then like immediately gets drilled by the other guy.
Yeah,
it's like Sandy or Mike or somebody, and then Blackburn gets up, runs around, gets drilled. it's like no choice.
Yeah, I like the.
I'll just go to the tier list.
I like having the tiers there.
The tiers there.
Yeah. All right. Next question: craziest weight cut of all time.
Actually, funny enough, so 113 Fargo, my cadet year. I remember checking my weight in the locker room at Hettinger before I knew that I was gonna make that weight cut, and I was like, "Oh, dude, I don't even know if I want to check." And this was maybe, I think it was 2 weeks. It was like 2.5 weeks before Fargo. And I checked my weight, and I was 129.7. I was like,
Wow.
For a little guy too, that's a lot.
So that's freshman going on sophomore me, and I was like, damn, this is gonna suck. And I just remember the last workout that I had was at Jared Franick's, and he lives 5 minutes away from the Fargo Dome. He lives 2 miles outside of Fargo and Harwood. And there was this gravel road that would lead all the way to a cemetery, kind of made a J. And that was my last workout, and I needed to lose like 1.2 pounds, 1.5 pounds or something like that. I threw on all my sweats, and I was like, this sucks. I was like, running in the summer in Fargo, and it's kind of windy, and then it's really windy. And you're wearing all these sweats. Doing that run, and that run was maybe 2.5 miles, but just like, just terrible. Where I was like, that was kind of the first time where I remember making a weight cut that like, I knew from the beginning, like, it was going to be bad.
Yeah.
And I had made, I felt like I haven't had to make too many of those, but there's like 3 or 4 more of those where it's just like, it's just going to suck.
Mm-hmm.
But made weight.
Yep. Get her done.
Just got to do it.
Yep. All right. I got 2 more things here for you. Give me your favorite food. Just anything.
Dude, I'm a pizza guy.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it flip-flops between pizza and pasta, like Italian food.
Yeah.
I think if I had to do a top 3, just because I get to make the rules.
Yeah, fit in the tiers.
Yeah. If I had to go 3, I would say it's like Greek, Mediterranean, like Euros, stuff like that, which I'm pumped to go to Greece this summer, so I'm going to eat a lot of those.
Yeah.
And then, let's say 2 is pasta. Which probably isn't good being a wrestler, obviously, but I don't eat a ton of it.
Pasta's so good.
Oh, so good.
So good.
You can do so many different things too.
Yeah, you can.
Just like, if you've ever been to a really authentic Italian place that makes good pasta, man, come on, get out of here. Get out of here.
Yeah.
But I'd say pizza is my number 1.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is that we live in North Dakota, so it's like you can't get quality pizza and pasta.
Yeah. It's just not legit.
It's just not legit.
Yeah. That's fair.
But
that's fair.
there we go.
Yep. All right. Last thing I got here. We're gonna be doing this segment every time we get a guest on. So here's how it works. You're gonna do a blind ranking.
Okay.
You got 5 slots. I'm going to give you something, and then based on that, you have to put it wherever you think it's going to fall. I could give you anything here. So the category is fast food.
Fast food.
So it could be anything coming up. So
All right.
first thing I'm throwing your way is Taco Bell.
Taco Bell. Dude, I'm gonna have to put. See, I'm not a big Taco Bell fan.
I'm with you on
my
that.
My main experience with is like for me, I would go Taco John's over Taco Bell.
Yep.
Now,
Is Taco John's extinct?
I don't
think
even know
it's
what
just
that
a
is.
Midwestern thing.
Okay.
I have no idea.
Oh, okay.
I think it's just a Midwestern thing.
Yeah.
Dude, Taco John's is up there.
Yeah.
Like I would put it 6-pack in a pound. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was just thinking.
So, but Taco Bell, though, where are we going with that in the top five?
Little story with Taco Bell. Last summer was my first year coaching Fargo and stuff. So it was cool, being like right up next to the stage when you were wrestling because Zeke wrestled Nick Ensminger next. And then, which was cool because I was like, hey, this kid's going to be on the team next year. But there's that Taco Bell by the Fargo Dome.
Yep.
And dude, I'm telling you, coaching is 10 times harder than wrestling. A whole tournament like Fargo, like harder, because you wrestle every single match. But anyway, so I have
Emotionally harder.
Emotionally.
Yeah.
But I don't know, man. My feet hurt.
Fair.
But so workout in the afternoon with Obi, probably lose like 7 pounds, because it's summertime and you're kind of fat. But then the only thing I had to eat was 2 crunch wraps and a Baja Blast freeze at 11 at night after helping all the kids cut weight.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that kind of knocks it down. I'm going to have to put it at 4.
Okay.
Because there's definitely going to be something worse here.
Taco Bell at 4. We're going Culver's next.
Ooh. I'm a big fan of Culver's. I might. Dude, quality fast food. What do you guys think?
I've never been to Culver's.
Not a big fan.
It's pretty dang good.
It's pretty dang
I mean, it's pretty
they
dang good.
got, dude, they got everything. I'm going to put that at 1. I'm going to put it at 1.
Really?
Culver's at 1.
Okay. Arby's.
Ooh. I'm going to get some hate for this here, boys. And people listening are probably going to think I'm a nasty bastard after this. I'm putting Arby's at a 2.
Yeah. Dude, I agree with you. Love Arby's.
Huge
I'm
fan
not
of
a big
Arby's.
Arby's guy.
Speaking about Euros, the Euro at Arby's, this might be the greatest thing ever. I'm getting 2 Euros at Arby's, hands down.
Yep.
Number 2.
Wendy's.
See, dude, I think Wendy's is just not good. I just...
Wow.
I mean...
You don't like a Baconator?
No, dude, I don't...
What do you mean?
I don't like... They just... I mean, what else? Okay, when you think of Wendy's, it's like, all right, a Frosty. That's it.
Or
I think
Baconator.
Wendy's-
I'm putting Wendy's at 5.
What?
Yep.
I think
Dang.
Wendy's is better than Culver's.
So then,
That's insane.
no,
That's
absolutely not.
That is crazy talk, and I'm not here for it. But
And you got Chick-fil-A sliding in here.
at 3,
Yep.
I'm okay with that.
You're pretty happy with
You
that
know
list.
what? I think that's the best way it could have went.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The absolute.
So you would go Culver's, Arby's, Wendy's, Chick-fil or no.
Taco Bell.
Oh, that's right. You put Taco Bell 4, didn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, so-
Culver's,
Yeah.
Arby's.
Yep.
Chick-fil-A.
Yep.
Taco Bell. Wendy's.
Okay.
Now the only 2 that I would switch around is probably Chick-fil-A to 2, which.
Chick-fil-A is pretty good. So with that, we appreciate you, Kyle Burwick.
Yes, sir.
Love you,
Big
brother.
shout out, Kyle Burwick.
Yep.
Love you guys. Thank you. Thank you for having me on.
Fuck yeah.
Yep.
Hopefully this thing takes off.
Yeah.
Because I just wanted to say one thing. I think it's awesome when I saw the setup and stuff that you guys had up. I was like, damn, good for them, because the amount of guys that in the group chat talk about, man, let's start a podcast, dude, and then it goes nowhere.
Yep.
Is hilarious because I've been a part of multiple of those, and I'm like, yeah, fuck yeah, let's do that, and then it goes nowhere.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, we took action. So yeah, thank you, Kyle. Hey,
Sure.
go give Kyle a follow. Instagram, The Real Kyle Burwick.
Yes, sir.
Sure.
Yep.
Thank you, boys.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah.
I add the Joe Rogan outro.
Yeah.